Hi there BMW owners. Today in your 2017 BMW X5 M Sport, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Stealth Hitches Hidden Rack Receiver. And this is what our Stealth Hitch looks like when it's installed. And you're probably wondering, well, it's awfully stealthy because I don't see anything. And that's because the crossbar here is completely hidden behind our fascia. And the bottom here has an attachment where we can either put in our receiver end, or if you've got the full tow package, you can put your drawbar in and do some towing. Here you can see our components, and we have the full tow package installed, which is going to include safety cable loops as well as a 7-pole connector to hook up your electrical. If you've got just the base hitch without the tow package, you won't get the loops or the electrical, and it's only going to come with your receiver end here, which is just designed for accessories. This receiver end is not designed for towing. When you're ready to use it, you can pull out the rubber plug. We've got our lock over here. You want to make sure it is unlocked. Currently it's unlocked. We can then slide our component up until it clicks into place. Once you've got your accessory installed, it is recommended to lock it down. I'm not going to be locking it down for demonstration purposes, but to lock it, you just push the lock tab in. This is great for all of your accessories, such as bike racks and cargo carriers. It does use a standard 5/8 inch hitch pin and clip. Now, one doesn't come included with the Stealth Hitch, but we've got plenty available here at etrailer.com. The receiver here offers a 600-pound tongue weight, and that's the force going down. And this is going to be your components that are going to be bouncing up and down here at the back. And with 600 pounds, you could easily have a 4-bike platform rack or the largest cargo carrier that we have here at etrailer.com, fully loaded up to the max. Also got some measurements for you to help you when deciding on your accessories. From the center of our hitch pin hole to the edge of our rear bumper, it measures about 1 inch. And that's going to be important when determining if any of your folding accessories can be placed in the upright storage position without contacting our bumper. And from the ground to the top inside edge of our receiver tube, it measures about 14 inches. And this is important when determining if you need a drop, a rise, or a raise shank on any of your accessories. We'll begin our installation at the back of the vehicle by removing all the carpet and things that you've got back in here, as well as the trim. We can then remove our access panels from each side. They just simply pull off. Our taillight assembly is located right here. We're going to remove the electrical connector by pressing in on the release tab and pulling it out. And then we're going to remove the 2 nuts located here with an 8mm socket. Once you've got both nuts removed on this side, we're going to disconnect the connector and remove the nuts located on the other side as well. We can then remove our taillight assembly. It just pulls directly rearward. To assist you with it, you can use a plastic trim tool to just kind of go in between the headlight there and just help you pop it out, and then we're just going to set it aside. We're going to do the same thing over on the other side. With your taillights out of the way, you're going to reveal a bolt here that we're going to remove with an 8mm socket. There's one on the other side, we're going to remove that one as well. We'll now come to our wheel well here, and there are 3 rivets that we're going to drill out. You can use a 3/16 drill bit to drill out the center. And just like that, it's going to come out of there. And we're going to do the same thing with the remaining 2 on this side and then the same 3 over on the other side. We can now pull our trim piece back on each side. You'll want to pull outward on it, and then using a plastic trim panel tool, there are going to be little tabs in here, so just kind of work your trim panel tool in there to release these tabs. As you're pulling outward, it will pop the tab and it'll come out, and you can see the little tab there. It can be difficult to determine where the tabs are, so you just kind of want to use your plastic trim tool in a couple of different spots until you find that actual tab. Once you've got it removed, what I like to do is just take a rag or a shop towel or whatever you've got laying around, something very soft, just kind of fold it up like that, and then you can stick it right in here just like that, and that'll hold it away from your fascia, making it easier to get the fascia removed. We're going to do the same thing over on the other side. With our trim out of the way, we can once again take our 8mm socket and remove the bolt located behind it. We can now pry out our reflector. There is a little tab on the inside, so I'm reaching back behind the bumper. You can't really see the tab, but if you feel around, you'll be able to feel it. And then you can just push it on that tab while putting some pressure here with the plastic trim panel tool. And you can see this is the tab that I was pushing on right there. We're going to do the same thing over on the other side to remove that one. Behind your reflector, you'll have a bolt we're going to remove with an 8mm socket. We'll do the same thing with the other side. We'll then remove the 6 bolts from the bottom of the fascia. There's going to be 3 on each side that we're going to take out with our 8mm socket. We can now start removing our fascia. We're just going to pull outward on it, releasing it from the clips. We've got our plastic trim panel tool here because if we are putting a little bit of, seems like excessive pressure and it's not coming off, you'll just want to reach in there with your plastic trim panel tool and pop out the clips. You can see here this one's wanting to be a little stubborn, so this is where we'll use our trim panel tool to get that released. Once we get here to the back of our light, this is kind of the point where I like to stop and then go release the other side. We're now towards the center, and this is where things get a little bit tricky because you have your tailgate open, you can't really see or access the clips that you need to access, and if your tailgate's closed, you also can't access those clips. So you need to keep it in a mid position so we can see these clips here as we're taking our fascia off. So we're going to grab down here at the bottom of the fascia, and we're going to just kind of lift up and rearward, making sure that we're fully removed on our sides there. And once you've got it released from all those clips, you want to be careful and slowly bring it away, but you are going to have an electrical connector over here on our passenger side. If you're having a difficult time getting the connector released, one of the things you can do to make it easier to get it removed is to use a pick or something extremely small to pry up on the tab, because this you press down and it's supposed to release. But on these really small connectors, they really just don't work very well. So sometimes it's easier to just assist it by popping that up. Because you also have one over here on the other side that's going to fight you as well. We can then fully remove our fascia and set it aside where it won't get damaged. We'll then need to remove all this plastic fascia attachments, where your fascia attached here. All this has got to get out of our way. So we're going to disconnect the electrical connector here, slide off your connector here, set those aside, and then there's 2 bolts here, and there's one located here and here. We're going to use a 10mm socket to remove these. Now that we've got all the bolts removed, we can begin removing it. There are going to be a couple of clips that we need to release as we're bringing it outward. You can see there's one here towards the center. So we just need to release this and pop it up. And we're just going to set it aside now. We're going to need to remove the one on the other side in the exact same way. We're going to be removing our bumper beam here. There's a wire that's attached to it, so we'll need to get that off. Just use your trim panel tool to pop that out of there. We're just going to follow this down, and anywhere it's attached to the actual beam, we need to make sure we disconnect it. We can now remove the bumper beam. You may or may not have caps on your bolts here. If you have the caps, those just unthread, kind of just pull them off. If you want to reinstall the caps, you will have to trim them down. Ours doesn't have any caps on it, so we don't have to worry about it. If yours doesn't, that's great. We'll then use an 18mm socket to remove these nuts. What I like to do is when taking off the top ones, the outer top one's the easiest one to get to. So since it's the easiest one to get to, after removing a nut, I like to just take one and just thread it back on there a turn or two. And this will ensure that while we're removing the rest of our nuts, the whole bumper beam can't fall off on us. Now that we've got all of our hardware removed, we can just unthread those last little bit that we left on there, slide our bumper beam off, and then we're just going to set this aside. We're not going to be reinstalling it. We can now take the beam for our hitch and set it into position. You'll want to make sure that the little hole you see there is up towards the top. And it really only fits one way. You can't really get it wrong because the cross beam will be hitting something else. And we're going to do just like we did before. We're just going to thread on a nut in those top outer corners, and then we can reinstall the rest of the nuts that we had removed. We'll then tighten them back down. We can then go back and torque our hardware to the specifications found in our instructions. At this point now, we can install the attachment point for your different ends. Now, if you've got just the basic package, you're only going to have your receiver end, which is designed for accessories only. And if you do have just that package, all you would do is slide this piece up in here and secure it with the included bolt and nut. If you've got the full package, that includes your tow package with your drawbar and your vehicle wiring, then we've got a couple of additional components that we're going to be adding. And since our customer does have this, we are going to be adding these components. You'll have safety chain loops that we'll need to add, and you do get new hardware because the bolts need to be extra long to accommodate for the extra components. So if you got the kit that doesn't come with this, you're just going to receive the shorter bolts, but if you get the full package, you'll get extra bolts. Make sure you're using the longer ones that come with that full tow package. We're going to slide a bolt through our safety chain loop, then we're going to slide that bolt through our connecting mechanism here until it goes all the way through. We're then going to slide our other bolt through the other side here, just like that. On the other side, we're going to slide on our tow hook as well. And the nut that's towards the front of the vehicle, we can go ahead and install the nut onto that bolt. But the one here towards the rear of the vehicle, we're going to be adding our wiring adapter, which just slides on like that. And then our nut will go on. We can now go back and tighten on our hardware. With this bolt that's towards the rear, I recommend tightening it almost all the way down and then just waiting so you can adjust this because it needs to be straight up and down like that. But it's going to flop around in there on you, so just get it real close. Once you get it close, then you can finish snugging it down. We can now go back and torque our hardware to the specifications found in our instructions. The plastic components that we had removed from here, we can reinstall in reverse order how we removed them. Once you've got your fascia and your trim put back into place, the rivets that we had drilled out, we're going to be replacing with push pins that come included with them. They just simply push into place, push in the center, and it can be pretty tight to push in the center. If you're having a real difficult time with your thumb, because it kind of hurts a little bit to push it, you can just use a metal tool to give yourself a little more leverage. We're just going to be using this pair of pliers right here. And this way we've got a little more surface area to push it into place. We're going to repeat that for the remaining holes on this side as well as the holes on the other side. And that completes our installation of Stealth Hitches Hidden Rack Receiver on your 2017 BMW X5 M Sport.